Hey everybody, welcome back. The rumors of my demise greatly exaggerated. Here's the thing, okay? Let's randomize first here. That's just regular. This is the greatest possible easy to remember run you could ever ask for. Thank you again. Eddie bless on the run that we just did, and Eddie bless on the run that we're starting right now. Thank you so much. It's just literally the difference between like 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. You know, you wake up, even at the best of times, right after you wake up, nobody's like, oh, I do my best work, you know, within 15 minutes of regaining consciousness, right? Some people are morning people, but you still... I don't see a morning person as like, as soon as they get out of bed, they're like, you know, running through the 90s or whatever. I don't even really know what that means, but upvotes to the left for an anime reference, please. I still also don't know when Initial D, when they were talking about running in the 90s, is it 90 kilometers an hour, which is not that fast, but is pretty fast to be making turns, for sure. Like street racing, that's pretty quick, you know, you're going highway speeds, doing, you know, urban moves. Now that was not a smart use of a bomb there, but that's fine, we can figure it out, we can recover. I'm hip, I'm with it. Let me go, please. Or was it the 90s, the decade, which I experienced the entire decade of the 90s. Like most people who had a great time in the 90s, I don't remember much of it. Unlike most people who had a great time in the 90s, that's because I was born in 1988. So as a result, you know, you can kind of fill in the blanks there. I only got memory, you know, like a third of the way into the decade, more or less. I guess we should, just to stay safe here. And then after that, you know, of course I was having a great time. It's first grade, second grade, third grade. You know, and I think you can do the rest from there. You probably don't need me to fill in the blanks, but... Or were they talking about the decade, or were they talking about the speed, or was it very clever? The rare song with a pun in it. Or, if not a pun, at least some kind of wordplay. I don't know. Either way, it's got one heck of a BPM. Okay. Do you think... I have a theory, okay? Do you think it's possible that the, let's just call it, so, you know, indifferent is when, like, you don't have a strong opinion one way or the other about something. Ambivalent... Hey, look at this. Hey, look at this. Ambivalent is when... there are feelings that are mixed, but usually on either end of the extreme. So like ambivalence is like, I'm of two ways about it. Like on the one hand, I think that, you know, a chicken fried steak would taste delicious for lunch. On the other hand, I'm ambivalent because I also should be watching my blood pressure. Do you think it's possible Netflix engineered... I'm realizing my conspiracy theory holds no water. Do you think it's possible that they deliberately licensed Cowboy Bebop for a live-action remake, knowing that the live-action remake couldn't possibly stand up to the fans' expectations, and as a result would come out to an ambivalent, if not outright negative response, thus rekindling a renaissance of people discovering the anime for the first time? I don't know. Now, I'm not saying I'm in the group, okay? All I'm saying is... I was like, you know... Oh, okay, wait. Don't... Okay, grab this. We need at least one empty heart container. Don't at me. And then we should have 4 HP on the next floor, if I understand how this works. Okay, Drain Hearts. Is that what it's called? Drain Heart? Drain Heart Isaac. I'm stupid. Crowheart. No, not Crowheart. Crowheart. I'm on Platinum God now. I should know by now how to play this game, okay? Repentance items. I'm looking for hearts. I'm looking for love in all the wrong places. Empty heart. If you have one red heart or less, I thought it was if you had... Oh, I thought it was if you had any empty hearts. Am I thinking a candy heart maybe that works like... No, candy heart's like the more red hearts you get or something. Anyway, whatever, man. Whatever. I have seen a few episodes of Cowboy Bebop in my life. I've enjoyed them, honestly, but never really, and not as a knock, but like in today's world, it's very difficult to just be like, yeah, I thought that show was good. You got to be like, oh, you thought it was good? Well, why didn't you finish it? I don't know. I had like a night where I was like, maybe I'll watch some Cowboy Bebop. I watched it. I had a good time. I woke up the next day and I was like, the desire was gone. Doesn't mean the show is bad. You know, it's a fast-moving life in the modern era. I think I'm just going to grab this. I don't know if I know what it is, or it was well worth it. Let's put it that way. Anyway, look, I'm just saying, is it possible that they deliberately made the show not so good, or at least you know, rife with strong opinions, in order to create a situation where people went back and watched the anime? Then I was like, they probably don't even have the rights to the anime. I'm pretty sure that that's, you know, like a Toonami, like Cartoon Network type deal in the US at least. I don't know, man. I'm just spitballing. But anyway, what I meant to talk about earlier was myself. Yeah, this morning sounded like garbage. People were probably like, is he dying? Thank you for your sacrifice making this Isaac episode. 12 hours later, listen, I'm not saying I sound perfect, but certainly a lot better than I sounded 12 hours ago. And you know what's going to be messed up? 12 hours from now, I'll probably sound a little bit worse, because, you know, you're waking up after not drinking anything for like 8 hours, and it takes some time for that stuff to re-enter your bloodstream, and, you know, get all the cytoplasm moving around properly and stuff like that. I told, like, earlier today, people would have been like, this guy is on his last legs. Now it's after dinner, and honestly, I think people are like, this guy was faking it. The whole time, this guy was faking it. Maybe I'm flattering myself. Yum, 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 yum. Okay, this run right now is going very well. But I'm just, like, if you didn't believe me before, then I was feeling good. Now, maybe you can believe me now that I'm feeling fine. Everything's okay. I'm just, you know, I'm telling you, it's just the random, well, I mean, I guess I can't say this with 100% confidence without, I don't know, doing a contact trace with, like, every person I've come in contact with over the past, like, week and a half. But it really feels to me like it's just, daycare is like, you know when you haven't rebooted your computer for like a month and a half, and when you reboot it, it's like, we gotta do a Windows update, and you're like, ugh, fine, go ahead. And then it does a Windows update, reboots, immediately shuts down again, and does like another 6 Windows updates. I think that's what daycare is doing to my immune system. After not having really been, you know, defragged for 18 months, more, I guess, to be honest with you, it's coming back online. It's getting hit. It's Windows Defender is saying some threats are detected. Don't sweat it. You might get a little bit hoarse. You might feel a little bit under the weather, but you're gonna get through it. We got some derelict assembly code, you know, written in 1986, designed to tackle this stuff. You don't have to worry about it. Now, can I tell you? I'm loving these tears ups. Let me tell you that first. I think we should take deals with the devil, because I think we should take deals with the angel, because a deal with the devil is stupid anyway. What I was gonna do is take deals with the devil, because, okay, at first I was gonna take deals with the angel. I know, you're like, what is he talking? Well, keeps changing his mind. At first we were gonna take deals with the angel. Then I remembered I got a guppy item out of a red chest, and I said, you know what, maybe we should try to do deals with the devil. That sounds like, you know, maybe we have a better chance to get Guppy. Guppy is played out, but always fun. And then I walked back into the room, and the room was, my deal that had previously been offered to me was no longer offered to me. And I said, okay, never mind. I'm stupid. I should never have walked out in the first place. Should have thought about it for 5 seconds, but life goes on. Thank you, thank you. Now, I actually really like the design of this item, but there's obviously some fear, right? Like, we might not want to do it on every floor, which is why I'm so annoyed that we missed it on, like, the first floor when it was so easy to enable. But really, like, one thing we should keep an eye on is if we can get, like, a strength card or a lover's card or a full health pill, it would be an asset for us to have that. That way, we can get the HP upgrade. And we don't need 12 HP, we just need as much as we need, which varies, you know, run to run. So far, this run's in a pretty good position, I'd say. It doesn't necessarily seem like it's going to need all 12, but we'll find out as time goes on. regardless, feeling good, having a good time this weekend. Still getting adjusted to daylight savings. You're gonna laugh at me. I was like, you know, what can you do when you're sick? We could take the baby outside for a nice peace. For a nice walk. Procrastinated a little bit. You know, we had her watching Sesame Street, which I'll talk about in a bit because it's actually like incredible. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And then I was like, okay, fine. Let's change her diaper, go out for a walk. Changed her diaper. Literally, by the time I got her in the stroller, it was dark outside, which is fine. We still went for a walk, but I was like, it's like 4:45 p.m. This is normally over the summer. I mean, I guess I'm preaching to the choir. You're probably familiar with how this works, but you know, it's kind of a shock. I was like 3 months ago, you know, we were starting our walks at like 5 p.m. Now it's 4:45 and it's like we got to get home or mom's going to be mad. My mom, not Kate, would understand completely. My mom would be like, "What are you doing? Can't have the baby outside after dark." That's crazy. Did I tell you, like, a couple weeks ago, Kate and I watched that documentary? I'm sure I mentioned it, like, it's a older Korean mom. Like, she had a newborn when she was, like, 52 or something like that. I was laughing when they were showing them driving, and, like, the kid is just literally sleeping in the back seat, not in a car seat, but just, like, laying down on the bench seat in the second row of their minivan without even having a seatbelt on. I was like, dude, anytime you feel like we have not come a long way, it's only, well, I guess I've already been there, that makes sense. Why not? It's only been 20 years, which sounds like forever, but it, you know, in the whole scheme of things, if I was like, what's the difference between like 1860 and 1880? You would be like, freaking nothing. You know, when you're living it, 20 years seems like forever, in some ways. When you look at it in a historical sense, you know, when the time has already passed, 20 years could be like the blink of an eye. I mean, there's people right now that are like, 20 years, that's forever. And I'm like, okay, how far apart are 1990 and 2010? They'd be like 15 minutes. It's the same year. And I had the same hairline the whole time. That actually might be true for me, but not in the way that is most flattering necessarily. Anyway, yeah, so we've changed a lot. Nowadays, the car drives itself, so I just, you know, put her in it and I say, "Excuse me, Mr. Bugatti Veyron, can you just drive her straight to daycare?" And confirming. Number of error alert. Number of pedestrians hit on last drive exceeded legal. Hey, whoa, be cool. Delete. Alt F4, Control Alt delete system 32. I'm just gonna be real with you. I think this is a floor where we don't take the HP upgrade that we get from Empty Heart. I think we just preserve our deal chances. That's just an IMO. An arcade on every floor would also be a huge blessing so that we could, I guess, manifest that on every other floor. But anyway. So I gotta tell you, we got, as is typical in Canada, Canadians and really just non-Americans, I'm sure will relate to this, but sometimes it's very difficult to figure out where to watch a show that you want to watch that's on a service in America that's not offered anywhere else. If something's on Netflix, usually, well, if it's a Netflix original, if it's on Netflix in America, then it's on Netflix everywhere. But stuff that, you know, companies buy the rights to, it's tough to find, right? Sometimes. So we're starting to relent. You know, our baby has been like completely screen-free for her upbringing so far. We're starting to very, very gradually introduce a little bit of controlled edutainment screen time. We watched a little bit of Bluey. It's a great show. Good children's programming. The problem is really not suitable for like a 1-year-old. Like it's not like the people are getting their heads chopped off or anything like that, but it's just like, you know, there's a lot of talking and like conversation. And she's like, I like it, but I don't really get it, which is fair. That's kind of how I felt about, you know, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood the first time I watched it. But we got, we wanted to watch Sesame Street. We finally found out you could buy a children's television channel called Treehouse in Canada. I kind of like Leamington, man. And then you could use Treehouse to watch, like, a few episodes of it, and you could, like, DVR the rest. You know, you could set your TV to automatically record all episodes of Sesame Street. Can I tell you, the people who distribute that show are psychotic? Did you know that Sesame Street on the West Coast airs at 3:35 a.m. Pacific time, Monday through Friday, or maybe Monday through Thursday? I'm not totally sure on that yet. Have you lost your mind? Like, I get it that's 6 a.m. Eastern time, where the nerve center of the Earth is, apparently. Like, God forbid those kids, like, maybe have to watch it at 9:30. I don't know what I guess kids on the West Coast just didn't watch Sesame Street before, like, the VCR existed at the very least. No kids waking up at 3:30 a.m. for, like, today's number is 5. Not a very good count impression, by the way. You knew what I was going for. But I gotta tell you, man, Sesame Street, even still, beats the pants off of, like, every children's television program I've ever seen in my life. It's not just, like, you know, there's some nostalgia, I guess, for the Muppets and stuff. I mean, I don't know if they're Muppets technically or Muppet Friends or whatever, but, like, all other, at least children's shows that I've seen, there's, like, 2 different types, right? There's cartoon, which is increasingly, not to say they're all bad, but there's a lot of, like, you know, literally just non-dynamic, static background. 2 characters are just standing still. Hello, Dottie. How are you? I am good. I'm eating a peanut butter sandwich. Like, it's just, like, so wooden, right? Bluey's not like that, okay? I'm not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And then, like, live action, clown stuff, if you know what I mean. Like, literally, there'll be, like, some, you know, drama school graduate dressed up as, like, a literal clown with, like, super huge shoes and socks on and, like, you know, paint on their face and is like, let's go for a walk in the hurdy-gurdy village. And I'm like, all this stuff is like, I get it, you know, it's like any port in a storm. You gotta do what you gotta do. But Sesame Street actually has, like, the songs are good. From an education standpoint, like, the repetition and stuff like that is great. The cinematography, it has dolly shots, it has tracking shots. I swear to you, in one of the episodes, there was, like, a True Detective season 1 style, like, long shot where they didn't do a cut for, like, 20 minutes. I was like, who directed this episode? Denis Villeneuve? It's insanity. This better give us our heart container, man. I shelled out for it. It did, okay. But the songs go hard too, man. And I'm also, like, I'm not mad at my child. That's, like, again, some insane person stuff. But, you know, we try to teach our daughter stuff. Banana, you know? Up, down. Water. Can I have a drink? Can I have some more? I'm hungry. Take some time, you know? Swear to God, Elmo pops. This is a true story. Elmo popped on the screen. She pointed at it. We went, that's Elmo. Next 45 minutes, every time Elmo showed up, which is literally like once every 30 seconds. Elmo is like she learned it like immediately. Whatever they've done with like the branding there is incredible. It's 2 syllables that are fairly easy for a baby to say. Like, I'm not saying it's 1-to-1. Like, she's not Elmo, but it's like Elmo. She knows what she's doing. Let's take it. Let's at least get that out in the open. Whatever they're doing at Sesame Street, keep it up. That's crazy, man. I will say, I feel like, is Big Bird still on the show? He's still in the marketing, but does not appear, in the episodes that I've seen so far, which is only 3, he has not appeared, but that's okay. It's crazy, man. Also, can I tell you, I think it's really good to keep your kid... I'm not saying to never let them use technology, but to keep them... to resist the temptation, and the temptation is very real, to just, like, give them a phone with Coco Melon on it and have them, you know, just get hypnotized by the pretty colors, right? I think it's good, but I also totally understand. Like, I was just thinking of it rationally, like, I don't think watching a couple episodes of Sesame Street every now and then is gonna do too much damage. Versus like me, she can tell my heart's not into reading, like, you know, If I Were a Sloth for the 250th time. Like, she's probably getting more out of Sesame Street as at least as a tolerance break than, you know, if I were a sloth, my coat would be fluffy, my tree would be bumpy, my nose would be silky, my claws would be shiny. If I were a sloth, I would hang in the trees, dreaming of juicy leaves. Like, don't get me wrong, she's getting some great father-daughter bonding time over the course of that. But at the same time, sometimes I think the parents need a break as well. And Sesame Street seems like the best of both worlds, you know? It's a show, like, when she was watching A Little Bluey, I was like, I felt the slightest bit of guilt. I thought, like, she's not getting that much out of this. We're just getting a little break, which is fine. You kind of need it from time to time. And it's not like you're, you know, smoking cigarettes and right next to her, you know? You're just like, you're just like sitting there watching the show. Like, at least the entertainment's out of my hands for a bit. With Sesame Street, I was like, this is a win-win, man. They're doing a great job on that show. Keep it up. I wonder as well, anybody here, parents of young kids, I imagine that if you reach a point where, like, the majority of entertainment you consume is designed for general audiences, is there, like an adult content hangover you kind of go through? Like, if you've been watching Sesame Street every morning at 3:35 local time, and then you go see a Martin Scorsese movie, does your heart rate go up, like, 15 beats per minute at a resting heart rate for the next week or something like that? Like, does it trigger cortisol release in your body? Because I kind of feel like when I was a kid, you know, all I watched was rated G stuff, right? And then I was so scared of rated PG and rated R stuff. People's heads are getting blown up and stuff like that. And the first, you know, 20 R-rated movies I saw where a dude gets stabbed in the gut with a longsword, you're like, oh, nasty. But then you just kind of go like, whatever. You know what? No. I'm not going to do... You know what? I'm going to do it. Why not? What the heck of a tear's up there. Anyway, with magnetic tears, this seems kind of bad, but I also feel like with Leamington, it could kind of rip. We'll see. Either way, so I think that's partly getting older, and it's partly, like, getting adjusted to it. But I'm wondering, like, if you went back and... the other thing, I guess, is, like, have you noticed your attention span dipping at all? What I mean by that is, like, if you haven't watched children's entertainment in a while, they don't really do, like, tension and, like, unresolved story arcs. It's, like, literally the deepest it'll go is, like, Elmo will be like, where's Tango? Tango's his dog. And they'll check, like, 2 things. And then in the second one, they're like, there he is. You know, they don't do, like, a huge arc of, like, you know, when the heck is Walter White gonna use that trunk-mounted machine gun? So I almost wonder if it doesn't, like, you know, lead to a strange adjustment in your attention span. You know, it almost is like... It's the same way I kind of worry about... And I don't mean worry like, oh, kids these days, but... And I recognize I'm on YouTube as we speak, but when I, like, see YouTube videos that are popular amongst, like, you know... young kids, and it's literally just like, so, hey, guys, like, there's a jump cut between every word, and it's just like, you wouldn't believe, like, they almost died, you know, like, it's like a 10-minute video, that is just, it's instant gratification, right? I worry that, like, when you go into a meeting, you know, with your boss in 20 years, your boss is gonna be like, hey, guys, glad you could come to the meeting today, and you're gonna be like, boring, come on, boomer, get to the point here, we got a planet to save, or something like that. Which, you're not wrong, okay, you're not wrong. But it is a little impolite, at least. But I worry if that'll happen to myself as well. Like, I don't mind a slow-paced, you know... I was trying to think, what's the name of the movie? Koyaanisqatsi? The one that's just like... shots of nature and cities with a soaring soundtrack in the background. I'm into that kind of stuff, you know? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's a little slow. Had a great time. I wonder if that'll disappear. After I've watched, 375 episodes of, like, there's one today. There's a horse in my room. There's a horse in my room. Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, giddy. There's a horse in my room. I'm never going to be able to watch, like, a sit-down adult movie ever again. No wonder my dad has fallen asleep while watching every single movie I've seen with him since probably, like, 1997 or 1998. You might think that, like, scrolling through Netflix for the perfect thing to fall asleep to is, like, a uniquely millennial, Gen Z sort of shared experience. Nah, man. My parents used to do it, too. They still do. They do it on Netflix, but they used to do it. Saturday afternoon, we'd go to, like, Blockbuster, spend 20 minutes in the store picking out the perfect movie. My dad would pick one. My mom would pick one. I would pick one. Yeah, it usually had like a deal, 3 for $9.99 or something like that. What a bargain. In 2000s dollars, nonetheless. But anyway, even the movie my dad picked, which was invariably something with like a 55-year-old action star holding a gun on the cover, called something like Last Train, you know? But it wasn't like a premiere action movie. It was like, it's like Mel Gibson. He's like 10 years removed from any of the Lethal Weapons and 5 years before Passion of the Christ. 15 years or so before his canceling. I can't remember when that happened anyway. And then it's like a Payback starring Mel Gibson. And then like invariably within like 20 minutes at most of the start of the movie. I don't know if this is a universal dad thing. My dad is a good role model, for real. We've got the same. I just got an exercise bike. Kate got me one for my birthday. I've become a Peloton husband. And I know about the treadmill. Don't worry about it. It's okay. I'm gonna do my best to stay safe. I'll wear one of the like life alert bracelets. Don't worry about me. But my dad has the same one, and he's actually gonna trounce me. I'm actually like embarrassed. My dad's he's approaching his late 50s, I guess. Whoa, look at this. What the heck? I can't fly? I've got wings, but I can't fly? I'm not even in my mid-30s yet. He's gonna smoke me. Like, I'm gonna have to keep I think it's gonna be a great motivating factor, but I'm gonna have to keep this up like for at least a year to even hang with him. Like, the first year is just gonna be him, and I welcome it for him, you know? I think there's something kind of aspirational in that, in being a father who, even, when his son is supposed to be in the peak physical condition, or at least the age of his peak physical condition, that's probably, I'm maybe a few years past that, but still, you're still staying competitive. I think that's healthy for him, It's aspirational for him, aspirational for me, but it's going to be embarrassing for him. I'm going to have to endure a lot of comments. Wow, I bet you never thought your old man could put out wattage like that. And Dad, I don't even know really what that means. I only figured out how to clip these dang shoes into the bike like 20 minutes before I started the ride today. But there are some dad habits that I would like it to be like the stop. I don't want it to get passed down to my children or my child, right? I don't want to be the dad that when you like pick a movie and the credits roll, you try to fast forward through the credits to pick the exact point that the movie starts, and invariably 9 times out of 10 end up overrunning the start of the movie and then having to throw it in reverse, and then invariably you end up overshooting the end of the credits, and then you've got to choose, am I going to fast forward again, risk overshooting it again and this just becoming absurd, or am I going to watch some of the credits, thereby negating the thing that I did in the first place to try to avoid that. I think that we should just accept that we should watch the credits. If they come at the start of the movie, you know, they're only going to introduce literally like 8 actors to you, okay? It won't take it. Once you get down to names that I don't recognize, like they're not going to do it for too long. If it doesn't have like an introducing blank as most noteworthy character, you don't have to worry. They're not going to go that long. The only other thing that I'd say there is like just it's not out of like gratefulness for the cast and crew to watch the credits. Like they're not there. It's fine. It's more just out of like, it gets you into the experience. You know, they play a song that sets the tone usually. They put some work sometimes into the credit sequence, and just sit down and relax, you know, like just simmer. It's not that big of a deal. Similarly, if you have a show, this is very boomer humor now. Like we're talking about dad with the TV remote. That's the most boomer discussion of all time. But, if you're watching a TV show that you really wanted to watch, like there's one thing you wanted to watch, the only reason you have the TV on, let's just say, is to watch the Canucks game, just in theory. Don't be so eager as soon as it goes to a commercial to change the channel. You weren't even going to watch anything else on the TV to begin with. Why are we now, like, going to the Masked Singer, and then we're catching, like, 45 seconds of, you know, homicide, life on the streets, and then, you know, now we're watching a little bit of My 600-Pound Life, and then you just try to, like, use your intuition to figure out, like, when is the proper timing to bring it back. So many times you end up accidentally missing, like, you know, 10 minutes of the thing that you only wanted to watch in the first place. Why don't you just, like, you know, during the commercials, I'm not saying you have to sit there and watch the commercials, but, like, you know, just leave it on that channel and then go to the bathroom or something. Look at your phone. I don't know, maybe that is what my parents do now. Cell phones didn't exist, really. The smartphones, at least at the time. Those are 2. And then the third one I talk about all the time. Again, this is not a knock on my parents, but if you're going out to eat and you want to eat at a specific restaurant, if they say there's going to be a 15-minute wait, don't leave and spend half an hour trying to find another restaurant. Those are just eat the 15 minutes, talk amongst yourselves as a family. There's even like built-in conversation if you can't think of what to say. Because you can get conspiratorial, right, in a situation like that. Wait, they're getting seated? Didn't they walk in after us, though? I'm gonna go talk to somebody. No, don't. I bet they just had a reservation. Okay, you're probably right. You know, like, you can have that kind of conversation. That's, IMO, at least, that's much better than the conversation of, like, okay, now that the place that we ate at tried to make us wait 15 minutes, let's spend 45 minutes trying to find a place with, like, the exact same menu but less people in it, which means, to be honest with you, the restaurant is probably not as good to begin with. I know that's going to be a controversial take, but, you know, the number of times, and again, my parents did an amazing job. These are the kind of minor gripes you have when you don't have, like, real gripes about your upbringing. These are just, I'm sure that my child will have many similar things about me. I would consider it an honor if that's what's being complained about, and not like, you know, Dad totally screwed up so bad. I'm not even talking about the fact that he wouldn't wait for restaurants, you know? Anyway, the number of times as a kid, you know, we'd go on vacation or something to Belleville or Ottawa or, you know, Quinte West or something like that, Sterling. We have, like, a restaurant we want to go to. We get there. Oh, it's going to be, like, a 20-minute wait. Is that okay? Absolutely not. Find ourselves at, like, some kind of a restaurant with, like, 100 tables and 4 customers. And then be like, oh, the chicken sandwich? And then, like, you know, you're just like, it's okay. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just, you know, it's okay. But what I really wanted to go to, you know, the first IKEA food court in Canada. I wanted to eat some of the Côte Boulard. Alas. But I think that's kind of how it goes, right? With like parents and kids. You choose some stuff from your upbringing. I mean, I feel like we all probably know people, and I'm not even saying this is like a personality flaw necessarily. I think we all know people who are like exactly their parents. Like, they say things that, like, you know, when you were in 8th grade, no 8th grader would ever say. They'd be like, whoa, you know, this is really high in magnesium. That would, like, something no preteen would ever dare, you know, conceive of that sentence themselves. Then there's people who are, like, the exact opposite, you know, and I think it's maybe a natural phase of growing up when they're like, you know, my parents eat vegetables, my parents drink water, I'm never drinking water again. Water's for suckers and corporate stooges. I'm happy to exist somewhere in the middle, where I'm like, I'm pretty sure my parents did things like, you know, I think they did things just right, full stop. There's just a few things that, you know, within that tolerance of good parenting, where I'm like, I would choose the other route, and we have that discussion. I'll be like, you know, I'll talk to my mom about it. Because, like, it's funny, like, I remember I was raised, I don't want to say I was raised by my grandma, because that's not really true. But over, like, summer vacations and stuff like that, you know, we lived in a duplex where my grandparents lived upstairs. So I would just hang out with them, like, all day. And it was, like, good, don't get me wrong, but I think also contributed to a little, you know, early life and maybe even current life anxiety. It's like I was remembering some experiences from my childhood. You know, I used to go see, like, movies with my grandma. She wouldn't let me eat popcorn at the movie theater because she was paranoid I would choke and die, and it would be her fault. Now, I'm not saying there's never been a recorded instance of a choking death at the movie theater due to popcorn, but is that the sort of thing that, like, a rational person really fears? I mean, like, we drove to the movie theater in a car in the wintertime in Canada, you know. It was like I would, like, brave the black ice on the 401 to get to the movie theater, see something ridiculous like, you know, Fern Gully, and then she'd be like, oh, you can't have popcorn, that's too dangerous. It's kind of crazy to think back on, man. Now, no wonder every time I go to the movie theater, I'm like, I gotta have popcorn. I'm like one of those dudes having a midlife crisis that's like, oh, I'm, you know, 40 years old, I need a sports car. Like, absolutely. I will promise you, like, I looked up, I won't say some research, but I looked up an article about midlife crisis, or I was fed one somehow. And it's like the midlife crisis is not, like, actually a well-documented, like, universal thing. The media has tricked people into thinking that, like, every man undergoes, like, some period of midlife crisis. I don't think it's true, man. And like, it's one of those things where, like, you can't even say, like, I don't think I'm prone to a midlife crisis, because people will be like, oh, that's, everybody says that, but then everybody goes through one. I'm like, even to this day, like, I'm not gonna say, like, I don't buy things, but, like, I don't want to be perceived. I feel like most of the classic, like, midlife crisis purchases are like, check me out, you know, like, I've got the car that I wish I could have afforded when I was 17. Now I'm 57 and I finally get to live this dream. That's not what I'm like at all. I'm like, do not notice me in public. I want to be, like, fully camouflaged at all times. I don't see myself as, like, the flashy kind of... I have no interest in, like, people in our family, you know, they're getting to the age where, like, some of them are like, oh, you gotta buy a boat, you gotta have a boat. I don't know why I said it, like, these are people I love. I shouldn't use the funny voice, but I'm like, you know, I don't want to have a boat, for one. It sounds expensive, and then what do? Like, you just kind of, like, pilot it out on the water, and then I guess you just sort of sit there and hope you don't become part of the increasingly, you know, growing number of statistics of boating accidents, and mishaps, and, you know, accidental drownings and stuff like that. But also, you're missing a big point here. I don't need to buy a boat because we're already family and you own a boat. Seems like you kind of screwed up the game theory on this one. We should have had, like, a game of chicken to see who could buy a boat last and then piggyback on the other person's boat. Because now that you've got a boat, you're always going, when are you guys going to come to the lake house? You got to come out in our boat. That's the perfect amount of boating for me, is like somebody else owns the house and the boat and is like, hey, if you drive here, we'll take you out on it. That sounds nice. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Told you I'm feeling a little bit better. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya.